special treat for you all. I have just completed a little story, most of it which is true, the ending which I wish would be true. And so this is going to be an all listening episode in which I just share with you the story that I have created, and you, the viewer, will just sit there and listen. Are you ready? Here we go. The story is called The Story of Lost Love. I had seen her from afar a year before in the arms of someone else. She looked as if she was brought down from heaven by God himself. She had a darker shade of blonde hair that flowed gently over her shoulders. Her smile simply intoxicating, so much that it got my attention right away. I didn't know her name, nor did I know anything about her, other than she would stand outside the science lab kissing someone who wasn't me. I myself at the time was in a rather confusing relationship with someone wretchedly discomforting, to sum it up in a couple words, meaning that time, at times she could be very nice, but at any given opportunity, she would essentially bend you over backwards and screw you. I myself fell for her lies, her tricks, her tactics, on more than one occasion, finding myself at the bottom of the barrel with her. We struggled in maintaining the relationship and broke up with each other many times in the course of things. In the end, both of us ended up severely damaging the other. However, I caught the short end of the stick, her damaging me in ways that I can't even begin to describe via her cheating ways and her soft lies. From when we last broke up, my defenses were up higher than ever before. This was one relationship that damaged the absolute most. It transformed me from being an open book in which anyone could open a page and read, to holding everything that I ever felt, thought, or needed a break from deep inside. Still, for some reason, I stayed. I tried to make it work with her the best I could, but the summer brought upon even more problems that I had not foreseen. She began to tilt more so off the wagon than I ever noticed before. She began drinking, taking drugs, and flirting with other men while we tried to add on the bandages. I had not known all of this at the time, but soon I found out. Somehow, though the summer came and went, and we remained together, sort of. School resumed, and we started it by having lunch with each other each and every day in this tiny corner spot where no one else could see us. That was all well and good for the first 2 weeks, but there was something involved in the picture now. The girl I had saw outside the science building the year before was now in my physics class, and this time single. We had met on the very first day of school as she gave me a look as to say, "I'm interested in you." Just this little smile and wave that seemed so friendly. Indeed it was, because now I had a shot of being with this sweet girl. Things with me and the ex quickly turned sour as my attention began to forget all about her and focus onto the other. It took me a while to remember, but eventually I caught on that her name was Heather. It was only a couple of weeks into school when we began hanging out at my house, and although it took me a fair while to ask her out, eventually I did. I had asked her over just like I always had before, but this time my room was changed. On the walls, I made a giant sticky note heart surrounded by poems that I'd created and wrote specially for her. Also, being the nerd that I am, I had also constructed a giant racetrack heart with the inner saying, "Will you go out with me?" on Halo. When she finally got to my house that day, November 11th, 2012, I'd planned it simply perfect, where at exactly 11:11 I would ask her out. She instantly saw the heart hanging on my wall and went over to read some of the poems for her. And to my surprise, she started to cry. I went over to her and put my arms around her, just holding her there, because I was not great at comforting people. Finally, though, the time had arrived and I turned on my Xbox, went into Halo, and loaded up the map. I told her to close her eyes as I flew over to the spot where you could see the entire Heart racetrack, along with my message. She read, turned to look at me, and I said it out loud. Heather, will you go out with me? She said yes, and thus began the start of something amazing. There were snags along the way, I must admit, such as choosing her over my ex. We began to hang out almost every single weekend, and sometimes even a couple times during the school week. Now, even back then, I had known that she was that she was a great deal smarter than I, and so her advanced classes kept her busy. But I persisted. Sometime later that same month, I had said those 3 forbidden words at a time where I really should not have, because in saying those words, when I suddenly stopped saying them, she started to drift away. I said them to make her happy, but I should have waited until I actually meant those powerful words. The school year continued with us on a decent path, talking between classes, after school, and almost up until the very minute we went to sleep. To me, we appeared inseparable, like a storybook ending in which I finally found the love of my life. Now, for some reason, when the feelings truly were there, I held my tongue, did not say a word, almost like the barrier I put up for my ex-girlfriend was now back. I saw that it hurt her, but we kept going, though I never did anything about it. We entered the next summer, where after it we would be seniors. We hung out just the same as before, sometimes even a little bit more, with her doing some of the most thoughtful things for me. Now, it might sound like a whole, or it might not sound like a whole lot, but she would sometimes bring me McDonald's breakfast early in the morning. I never told her, though. I always thought of it as something so sweet. There I would be lying on my bed, fast asleep, when she would just come into my room and gingerly wake me up. I loved it. She brought me food and usually woke me up with a soft kiss upon my lips. She got me lots of gifts and asked for nothing in return, which to me, of course, I was not used to, because of my ex-girlfriend. Now this part may sound cliche to you, but I honestly never knew she was yearning to hear those words we all so desperately wish for. The summer came and went as we entered our final year together. This year, we were in 5 out of 7 classes together, and like I thought, things were just great. Boy, was I ever so wrong, because as we began to sway even more this year, I still held my tongue. I wanted to tell her everything, to tell her the plan to marry her, the feelings I had for her, and how much she actually meant to me. I didn't. The year flew by with us still talking as much as we did, hanging out as much as we had. However, summer soon appeared again. Now I had known because she had told me hundreds of times that on August 17th, 2013, she would be leaving to go to her dream college. We hung out every day just as we had, but things were starting to get much more heavy. I know now that I should have simply popped myself with a sharp tack, exposing everything I wanted to tell her in one fell swoop, but for some reason, I held my tongue. June, July quickly came to an end, yet still I had given no thought that the girl of my dreams was actually going to leave. For some reason, I'd gotten it in my head that she would stay. I was wrong, yet again. I remember the last day I was actually with her. It was just a few days before she left. I made it as special as I could and did things I normally wouldn't have done. I took her out to dinner. We watched movies together. We talked. We did everything just like normal. This time, though, as she walked out of my room for the very last time, after we had said our goodbyes, her and I were both crying in what might have might as well been different universes. Me in my room, and her all the way out to her car, and probably down the road. I should have said, "Stop! Wait! Don't go! I love you." Any of those would have been fine. But still, I held my tongue. I was, to say the least, an idiot. I had the best thing that I ever could have hoped for, and I let it slide right out of my fingers. That Saturday, she left the 13-hour drive to Alabama. At first, things were still okay, and we talked almost every day. But soon, all hell broke loose as I told her, "I love you. I still have loved you. I always have loved you." She said to me that it was too late, and I don't blame her, for I had plenty of chances to do so. A month went past, and things got even worse as we talked maybe once a day, finally ending with her saying I had my chances, and that now Heather was completely and utterly done with me. I laid in a rut for well over a month thinking, hoping that she would come back. But after over a week of complete silence from her, I knew that it was over, that I had to do something drastic. I began assembling little details of my wardrobe, getting different facial features, haircut, and acquiring a British accent. Soon I was ready and contacted the school where she was, and got enrolled using a fake report card, fake hours, and a fake SAT score. To my astonishment, I was accepted. I packed my things, kept my current cell phone, as well as obtaining a new one, and traveled all the way to Alabama. I did some research and found out what classes she was in, so that I could take them all as well. School had been going for well over a month for her now, and me, or should I say Jeffrey, being a new student, I asked politely if the professor, if her best student could possibly tutor me and catch me out. Luckily for me, I had already known that she was the best student in the class, and the professor asked if she would tutor me. She said yes. We first met up on a Tuesday, exchanged numbers and all that, with me and my fake identity. Soon after, we began meeting up 3 times a week studying together, when finally out of the blue I told Heather I really liked her and would be honored if she were to go out with me. Surprisingly, she did not see through my clever ruse, and she said yes. She texted the real me after a long while of not saying anything, and she said she found someone new, and that again it was over. I responded, "I'm sorry," and that was it. That was the only text. So weeks went by, eventually 2 whole months of me, Jeffrey, dating Heather. One night, while we were watching movies together, I snuck out of the theater and told her to come by her room, that I had a present to give to her. She came about 10 minutes later, being that her dorm was all the way across campus. When she got into the room, I had fixed my hair, changed my clothes, and set up her room just like I had mine way back when, with the giant sticky note heart, the poems, and of course the halo heart, and the "Will you go out with me" sign in it. She stepped into the room and gasped, for she knew who I really was instantly. I sat down on her bed, told her everything, why I did it, and how much she really did mean to me. The most astonishing thing of this whole story, though, is that she took me back, and eventually we got married. Now, that is the very end of the story. However, that's not how it really ended. Most likely, she'll end up with someone else. And as for me, the love of my life will be gone. It's something very hard to talk about, but no matter what, I have to believe that there's something that I can do in order to get her back. Some weird twist of fate where I actually will end up with her. And so I say to you, all of you, the moral of this story: never, never take the person that you love for granted. This has been a short story by the Thefatwikingknight, aka FC Boomshot. Thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed my little short story and you want me to do more of these, please leave a like and a comment maybe saying something along the lines of, "We liked it," that would be great. Again, thank you all for listening, and if you have not yet subscribed, please do so to hear all our crazy adventures, stories, and buildings along the way. Thank you all.